Hey everyone, my name is Dapo Adeola, and I am going to be bringing you this Waterstones Shelfie video from the comfort of my workspace at home. Um, you're going to have to bear with me. I do not have the normal backing of a bookshelf behind me with loads of lovely books on it. But yeah, you're going to have to bear with me on this one. Right, so I'm going to kick it off again by doing another introduction. My name is Dapo Adeola. I am the illustrator of Look Up. Like, that's the best, I think, book I'm best known for, and its current follow-up, Cleanup, which is currently out as of the time of the release of this video. So for this video, this Shelfie video, I'm going to be talking to you about the books that inspired me to want to become a storyteller, and to basically start reading. To basically start reading. Right, so I'm going to kick off with one of my all-time favorite authors. I would describe him as the author that was like a gateway to everything else that I've gone on to read since, and enjoy reading thoroughly. Quentin Blake and Roald Dahl's The Witches. That's the book. That's the book. So this is a current edition of the book. Why do I love this book? It's Roald Dahl's ability to make the ordinary fantastical. That's what really drew me to this particular book when I was younger, and I like my stories to be a little bit on the dark side, you know, and witches, magic, all that kind of stuff really fascinated me. And then Roald Dahl has this ability to make the stories really cheeky. Like, and this, I think this was definitely the scariest Roald Dahl story that I've ever read. I think this is one of these really, really scary stories. I love his descriptive writing, the way he describes the witches in the story as being. There's a particular bit where he talks about how to spot a witch. There we go. That's an example of a witch there. And they're bald with blue tongues, long fingernails, and they wear gloves. And it's just this crazy kind of world that he builds in his storytelling. So through the works of Roald Dahl, I then came across Quentin Blake's work, which I'm going to touch on later because that's the visual side of this video. So from Roald Dahl's work, it really opened up this kind of crazy desire to read in me as a 7-year-old. And I just went through all his works, just read everything I could come across. And then that left me, once I'd finished all the Roald Dahl books, that left me with this sort of vacuum that I needed to fill in creative storytelling. And that's when I came across the works of Brian Jacques. So this is I think this is a first edition copy of the book Redwall. And this is actually a library copy from when I was in secondary school over 20 years ago. Let me see. I'm going to try and find the publication date of this edition just to show you how old and well kept this book is. Let me see. It doesn't quite say in here. Oh, it doesn't say in here. Well, this is a library edition of the book from like 1990 something when it was first published, I believe. And Brian Jacques' work is amazing. He writes these fantastic fantasy stories about this world of creatures and animals, anthropomorphic animals, and that was the first time I'd ever come across. That was the first time I'd ever come across something like this. And again, with the habit that I have formed from the Roald Dahl books, I just tore through everything that this guy wrote. I love the world that he built. I love the fantasy element of it, the adventure, the sort of heroic fantasy that he that he's so good at crafting, and these stories of self-discovery, learning about self, courage, all these things. These were the first time, I think the first time in my life as a child that I came across these notions that, I don't know, I just took them all in, and they've since gone to kind of form the person I am. Yeah, I guess. From Brian Jacques' work, I then went into more of an adult fantasy in the form of David Gemmell's work. David Gemmell is actually, or was, because he's now no longer with us, sadly, he was my all-time favorite author while he was alive. Kind of still is. This is one of my favorite books of his. It's a book called Winter Warriors, and I think this is the first time in this genre that I came across a book with a black protagonist, which was a really big deal to 13-year-old Dapo at the time. Like, it was a huge deal to see, to see an actual representation of self in the genre that I love so much was huge. It was massive. It's a story about four warriors who were on the verge of retirement and their very last adventure together, and it is heartwarming, heart-wrenching, like, because it's quite sad at the end, and it's just the pace. That's the thing that I love about David Gemmell's writing, the pace that he writes the stories, the pace of the stories that he writes, sorry, and the characters that he just sort of introduces into this world. And all these characters, they're just the most random of characters, but you never forget them. Even the simplest person, like a guard, is given such a backstory, such a presence that you kind of feel like you know this person by the end of it. Yeah, David Gemmell, great collection of works. Do check them out if you can. Now we're going to go on to the visual. So I did mention earlier that Quentin Blake, through the works of Roald Dahl, that's how I came across Quentin Blake, and I think that's the first sparks of, what led me to wanting to become an illustrator. So you can check these books out. These are Quentin's own picture books. So Cockatoos, it's a fantastic book. Check this out. And Zagazoo. And I also have another book of his here called Clown, which is in the bookshelf behind me, but I'm not going to disrupt the video to pick that up. So now I'm going to go into some more modern books that I really, really like, that I would recommend as well. This is a book by the Fan Brothers. It's called Earth Meets Sky. It is gorgeous. Visually stunning book. It's gorgeous. I'm not sure if this video is doing it justice, but it is a very, very gorgeous book. I would highly recommend that. Talking about gorgeous artwork, there is these two books by Emily Hughes, who's another one of my actual favorite illustrators working right now. Wild. This is a brilliant book. And Everything You Need for a Treehouse. Absolutely gorgeous, magical book, this book has. And then we have Ada Twist Scientist, another brilliant book by the amazing illustrator, David Roberts, written by Andrea Beattie, who's also a fantastic author as well. Really, really good book. This is the standout book of the series for me. I think it's quite obvious why. It's amazing to see a black family brought to life in page, and brought to life so well and accurately as well. Another current favourite that came out last year is this book, Tooth Fairy in Training, and it's by Michelle Robinson, and it's illustrated by Briony May Smith. And Briony's Bryony, I think her name is pronounced, is one of my actual favourite illustrators working today. This book is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, and I would recommend it. And it's a fun story as well. And I'm going to cap off this video because I'm running over time. Lucy Rowland's book with Ben Mantle, Dracula Spectacular. Again, I do love a little bit of dark, scary kind of horror in my story, but this isn't quite that. This is a surprising take on the Dracula mythos, and it's really, really, really fun for kids of kids of a particular age. I would say all ages, but that's just me. Monsieur Roscoe on Holiday is my final one. This is Jim Field's debut book as a illustrator and author, and it is gorgeous. You know Jim for his work on Oi Frog, amongst other fantastic books, but this book right here is absolutely gorgeous, and I would highly recommend it to anyone looking for something for their children. It also teaches them words in French as well, which is a brilliant and surprisingly quite novel twist, because I haven't seen anything like it. Right, so I've gone into the 9-minute territory. This is my Shelfie, or this was my Shelfie. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you really enjoy these books in the same manner that I have done. And also, pick up my book. You'll enjoy that too, if you like this stuff. All right, bye.